We're here in Mosaic County. I'm Granvil Travis, farm with my dad and my uncle. We're Travis Brothers Farm. I'm gonna show you a little bit of what I do and the crop side of the farming operation. Maybe do some trials with some biologicals, learn what not to do at least. But first, let me show you around the farm here. Here on the south side of the big barn, we've got some feeder hogs that I'm feeding out. I always try to feed a few hogs out every year. Max is running over there to take a sniff of him for a minute. Here in a couple months, he'll be tasting like some pretty good bacon and pork chops. There's some more coming. They're all coming out to see what's going on now. Max is gonna take a little look at them there. So we're coming up to my dad's house. Here across the road from his house is the replacement heifers that we got for next fall breeding. There's our silage pile that we got. Kind of seems like here at Dad's we put everything right against the road. We're kind of limited on space the way we built everything, but it works for the way we feed cattle. We got our barn with all of our feeding equipment in it at the moment. That's pretty well where they stay throughout the year. It's a 1979 F100 two-tone, two-wheel drive truck. It's now my dad's truck. He inherited it, but it was originally my great-grandpa Webb's truck. Got our semi. It's a Sterling with a dump trailer, all lime and grain off to the granary. So there's my grandpa's old truck. It needs a motor put in it, probably a paint job, but he used to haul 2 bale of hay at a time. We use wagons and haul about 17, 18 at a time. You can see out there in the back, right below the hill there's the Quonset. Quonset is pretty well where I work out of. That's got all my shelves with all my parts. We've got a hydrant out here that the cattle have bent, so it doesn't shut off like it's supposed to, and it needs to be replaced. So I guess they're out here looking for water. Some spare parts and a press. Now this loader here is actually the loader that came off the 3020 that my dad got hit on. And my father-in-law actually reworked it and straightened it all back up. And it's ready to go back on the tractor when we get it back from having the engine done in it. Silage wagon that we got to work on. He was actually dumping a load of silage this past summer, and the frame bent on it. You can kind of see where the frame bent there on the rear axle and almost flipped her over. So we got to work on that before next year. I grew up farming. If I wasn't riding with Dad on the tractor, I was in the house playing with my toys. Used to have a front porch on the house I grew up in, and one side of the front porch was a 1/16 scale farm, and the other side was a 1/64 scale farm, and always tried to make sure that I was done planting before Dad was in the spring. That's all I've ever wanted to do, and that's what I'm trying to be able to do, is just make a lifelong career out of farming. Never really had a calling to do anything else, so I just stayed here on the farm. I've just always been a guy that wants to get 110% of what I did last year. Maybe sometimes it's not about having the bigger yields, it's just about having a higher return on investment. Just the way I've always been. I know a lot of people, sometimes they just like to do things the same old way and they're happy with it, but I've always been the type, I always want to be better than I was the day before. One thing that got me started on biologicals was just some of the things I'd learned in the Total Acre program. Trying a few different things this year, and I tried BioPath last year, and I'm gonna try it on some lower fertility ground, some hill ground, this upcoming year, whereas last year I just tried it on a field with a good APH, and just kind of see where it may have a place on our farm, and if it does, then great, we'll add it to our program, and if not, we'll test something else. You can kind of see right here in the old river bottom area here. It's mostly flat, but it does have some ridges to it. We got some gumbo bottoms, and some lower areas is white dirt, and we've got sand ridges and silty loam soils, so we're pretty complex on soil types. I mean, we can go across 4 or 5 soil types with one planter pass across a quarter-mile field. Now, this cornfield that we're coming up on here on our right is where the BioPath trial was. Right now, we're west of my aunt's. This is where I had the BioPath trial last year. This will probably be where this goes again. Right now, the corn's kind of behind me to my right, and the beans was to my left behind me. So next year, we'll just flip-flop and probably just keep that going and see how the BioPath does again next year in the higher fertility, higher yield area. It's got spot tile in the low areas. Got a center pivot here on the corn that swipes across it. Where we had our beans at last year, we still water that with traveling guns. So they'll have 3 or 4 pulls out across that field where we're pulling our guns out. and watering across it. Maybe the next time you all see this, it'll actually have something green in it instead of snow, and it'll be a nice warm spring day. When I signed up with Mosaic Ag to do this year throughout the growing season, I guess I'm just going to try to show you what's working on our farm, what ain't working on our farm, and try to be honest and open with you, so we'll be able to take this all the way to harvest and see if we have a yield difference or not. And I've got 3 little girls. Maybe they'll tell you something that you need to learn.